Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, Udira, the Review, back again with another video. And we got our first look and also kind of our first trailer for the Watchmen animated movie coming out this summer. And for what I can say about the Watchmen series or the Watchmen franchise as a whole, I enjoy it for what it is because I know back then everybody was like, oh, Zack Snyder ruined Watchmen. And I'm like, really? If you think about it, if you watch the fully extended version of the Watchmen, you get the full story as in the comic. Yes, there are some similarities between the comic and the movie and a little bit of differences in between motives and the actual ending. But for what it was, I enjoyed the movie for trying to translate the comic, or at least trying to do that whole story in one singular movie rather than just, part one, part twoing it. And the HBO series that came on recently, because I remember thinking, oh, is this a sequel to that story? But no, it's basically more of a sequel to the comic. I enjoyed the series for what it was, and yes, there have been a couple recasting and a couple changes between the movie, but I feel like that show in particular is more of a sequel to the comic. But going into the animation, I want to see what it's going to look like. And from the thumbnail, it looks a bit more like their Tomorrowverse versions, but hopefully the footage and everything looks the same. And some little differences because I know they're going to have to actually do some stuff on the comic in animation. So let's take a look.
Someone's picking off costumed heroes.
Huh.
Maybe this was a political killing. No.
No, this looks more like X-Men, if I'm being honest. Or at least that style.
There is good and there is evil, and evil must be punished. I do not do this thing because it is permitted. I do it because I have to.
Okay, I kind of do like that, a little shot of Rorschach in the daytime. Yeah, the trailer was short, but at least I could just say from visually, the thumbnail made it look like it was going to be one of those Tomorrowverse animations they're doing with Crisis and all that. But looking at the way it is in motion, it reminds me a bit more of like the X-Men 97 style of animation. Not exactly animated, but it's more like I don't remember how. I think it was like cell shaded animation where they would actually draw the designs and everything flow more clearly, like the original old school '90s cartoons. And if I'm going to be honest, another HBO show that actually did it perfectly and also incorporated some of the same stylings of the old school animation was Spawn. And yes, it's cool seeing old school and '90s animation because I feel like those are the definitive versions of those characters. And yes, looking at it with a bit more high quality HD is a bit more confusing to the eyes because I'm like, yeah, I remember hand drawn animation making it look so raw, but now looking at animation and more of the perks they can do, I'm like, it's cool, but it's not the same looking at the old school versions of those characters and seeing, I know you're trying to emulate this, but it's not the same. Even some resemblance to the movie because I know each shot of the Watchmen movie was more visualization of Zack Snyder trying to do what exactly was represented in the comic, like the whole Dr. Manhattan scene, the beginning, the opening scene, especially with Eddie dying and falling out the window. All that looks good for the movie and it was stylish for the time. But in animation, we're gonna actually see the whole scene for what it is. And with animation, there's a lot more perks because there's no rules to animation. Say what you will about Zack Snyder, you cannot say visually whenever he does his movies, it doesn't look good. Especially like 300, Watchmen, even some shots from his DC movies like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and his version of Justice League. All three of those movies, despite what people think about them, have some moment in there that's like, wow, that looks cinematically good. And yes, I know we're going to see a little bit more from the comic in this version, and you did kind of see it at the very end with Rorschach looking at New York in the daytime, writing in his journal. So I hope we get to see a lot more of that because I know Rorschach was a character in the night, but hopefully in this series, or at least this movie chapter in any way, we could actually see a bit more of Rorschach because I'm not gonna lie, he is my favorite character besides the comedian in this comic and in the movie. But I would kind of do want to see what more they can expand because I have a feeling the first chapter they're gonna be doing everything from Eddie Blake up until maybe when Rorschach or Dr. Manhattan leaves Earth and goes on Mars and is gonna divide up to there. I'm assuming maybe an hour and a half or maybe a 2 hour animated movie, but depending on how far they want to go. That's my prediction for the Watchmen animated movie. Alright, you guys, thanks guys for watching. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. All my social media is down in the description below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.